Hi, Charles is a book sage here with my, winter reading and winter book related TV show and movie watching wrap up. I started January with a little mini winter TBR playlist, one for reading, one for writing, and one for, like I said, book related TV and movies. And I'm not going to really cover the writing here in this one. This is just going to be what I actually read in the first quarter of the year, and if I made any actual progress on the book-related TV shows and movies I was trying to catch up on and get knocked out of the way. So let's start off with reading. I ended up only actually reading 9 books for the first 3 months of the year. Started out fantastic. I read 7 books in January, so I thought I was just going to plow through a whole lot of reading this first quarter. And then books 8 and 9 I ended up reading in the first couple of days of February, and then a 3-month-long reading slump hit. Now, even though I didn't read anything for the rest of February, all of March, and all of April, except for like probably a couple of pages and mainly research, but no like reading, I ended up getting a lot of the TV and movie watching that I had planned to do out of the way. But let's start with the reading first. The 9 books. I ended up starting the year with House of Chains, the Malazan book. I had started it in late 2021, but I really finally dove into it at the beginning of this year. And so I read House of Chains and then Midnight Tides and The Bone Hunters, all 3 of those, right at the start of January. I think I read all 3 Malazan books in less than 2 weeks. And really, really fantastic. This is my first time reading Malazan at all, so this is all new to me. And the deeper I get into the series, the better and better and better it keeps getting. And I'm actually reading the 10-book Malazan Book of the Fallen main series and the 6-book companion series. I've taken both of them and combined them into a suggested timeline reading order. So I'm going through all 16. So I actually just recently started Return of the Crimson Guard as my next read after The Bone Hunters. And I do have to say, I gave House of Chains and Midnight Tides 4 stars. And The Bone Hunters, I'm pretty sure I gave 5 stars. And as it sits right now, Memories of Ice is still my favorite read in the series so far, the 3rd main book. But Bone Hunters is number 2 now. And I'd probably put Midnight Tides in 3rd spot. I think so. So Memories of Ice, Bone Hunters, and Midnight Tides are my top 3 reads so far. But like I said, I'm about halfway through the series now as I start Return of the Crimson Guard. That's book 8 in the 16-book read I'm doing of Malazan. And I actually have kind of long, rambling, pretty spoilery discussion videos for House of Chains, Midnight Tides, and The Bone Hunters on my channel already. So for those who like those kinds of videos where, you just kind of ramble on about the book, because they're big, long, complicated stories, and we're getting deeper and deeper into this Malazan world and beginning to see more and more of all the moving pieces that you don't really see at the beginning when the book first starts out. And but yeah, just better and better and better. And I know there's this confrontation coming, probably in the next main book, that I thought we were going to get at the end of, I think, The Bone Hunters, and it didn't materialize. So I imagine it's a whole nother book. But I'm really excited to get back to Malazan again. I think it was probably a mistake reading 3 of the main books back to back to back in, like I said, less than 2 weeks. I think it was just Malazan overload. But I'm really, really looking forward. I'm just about almost at the halfway point, and super excited to see where it goes. And I'm glad I came back to this story, because I first tried reading Gardens of the Moon, I think maybe 2008, somewhere around there. And it just didn't click for me, like the first couple of chapters. but I always meant to come back to it because more and more people whose opinion I respect in the fantasy world just kept raving about it. So I am glad that like a year ago or so, I said, okay, it's time. So super happy. And the second time around, Gardens of the Moon just hooked me right away. So for whatever reason, I was ready to start reading this series. After that, though, I did need a break from Malazan, and I went back to one of my all-time favorites, a classic sci-fi book, Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. Now, Arthur C. Clarke to me he's one of the giants of early hard science fiction. Isaac Asimov is like a contemporary, I guess. And Childhood's End and Rendezvous with Rama, to me, are the two like Arthur C. Clarke in his prime hard science fiction books I always recommend. If people have never read Arthur C. Clarke, start with Childhood's End and then read Rendezvous with Rama. They're not connected to each other story-wise, but they're two really great starting points. Now, as far as Rendezvous with Rama goes, very simple. It's a scientists and astronomers discover an object has entered the solar system, and they realize pretty quickly that it's not a natural object. Some civilization out there in the universe built it. And they task a team of astronauts who are out on assignment to redirect, intercept the object, land on it, try to find a way inside and explore and see what they can discover about it. And that's what the book is. It's that exploration of this alien vessel. And again, in the hands of a less experienced writer, it might just come across as boring because it's not an action-packed like first encounter, aliens, crazy aliens attack or anything like that. It's really them just discovering this giant ship and trying to decipher what all these pieces and components in it are and why they're there and what they're for. And each crew member gets their moment to shine in the plot. Anyway, I have an actual non-spoiler book review of Rendezvous with Rama on my channel. So if you're interested in that. Arthur C. Clarke revisited this story years later when he was a much older writer. And he ended up writing 3 more sequels to it to expand what you could see as a possibility in the first book. He expanded it into a full-blown like exploration, deep exploration. But highly recommend it if you like that sort of earlier classic sci-fi. And it's hard science, so there's no like, you know, the humans don't have like light speed or warp speed. It's regular like astronaut stuff, you know, with the calculations, understanding they have a finite time aboard this ship before they have to leave as it gets too close to the sun and all this stuff. But really well done. It had probably been a good 20 years since I've read Rendezvous with Rama, and it was just as good as I remembered. After that, I finally got to not a reading project, but a reading experiment that I've been wanting to get to for a while. And I sat down to read the first chapter of The Cold Dish by Craig Johnson. It is book 1 in his very long-running Walt Longmire book series, which the Longmire TV show is based on. Now, I don't read, like, it's like, I don't know if you cop novel, detective novel, whatever you would categorize it as. Mystery, I don't know. Walt Longmire is a sheriff of this fictional Absaroka County in Wyoming. So he's the sheriff of this big, sprawling county. And again, dealing with crime and murders and all sorts of stuff. There's, I think, a Cheyenne reservation in the county, so you get into some of that interpolitical, like, challenges there. The TV show deals with the res a lot more, I think, than the books do from what I see so far. But absolutely loving the story. I wanted to just read chapter 1 to see if I would like it, because I figured I would because I love the TV show so much. But happily, Craig Johnson's writing style, his prose just sucked me right in, and I just clicked with it immediately. And I sat down and read the whole first book in one sitting. And then the next day I read book 2 in one sitting. And really good. and it's interesting to see the comparison between the original book characters and how the show they adapted them for the TV series. Longmire, if you've seen the show, Longmire is pretty stoic, and in the books he's got a bit more of a dry sense of humor. Oh, hey Mindy, how you doing? Read the first. Oh, cool. Very cool. So I am just replying to you here while I'm trying to multitask. This is kind of new for me. And but yeah, I absolutely love the first 2 books. Whoops. I think I hit the wrong key there, so ignore the starting soon that you might see on the screen. I have to remember I have these keyboard shortcuts for like pop-ups. But yes, I also ended up reading books 3 and books 4. So I'm 4 books into the Walt Longmire series and absolutely love it. I ended up putting the TV series on. I finally finished the show, which is why I went to start reading the books. And I put the first couple of episodes of the TV show on just to look to see what book-specific little pieces the showrunners put in for the readers. And I ended up getting rehooked on the TV show, and I binged the entire Longmire TV show again for the second time. But really, really good. I was very surprised. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I enjoy the show so much. But I wasn't expecting to enjoy Johnson's writing style, telling these stories in book prose. But I really, really like it. It really works for me. And I also ended up reading The Black Echo by Michael Connolly, which is the first book in his long-running Harry Bosch book series that the Amazon Prime Bosch TV show is based on. And Michael Connolly is also the author who wrote The Lincoln Lawyer, which is another book series, I believe. And I think there's a Lincoln Lawyer TV series coming out, but that's going to be on Netflix. So even though in his books, the Lincoln Lawyer character and Bosch are half like stepbrothers or half brothers or something. So they actually appear in each other's book series, from what I hear. But because Bosch is Amazon and Lincoln Lawyer is now a Netflix product, there's not going to be, their worlds aren't going to be connected in the TV shows, unfortunately. Just how the way TV adaptation rights go, I guess. But I'm looking forward to whenever eventually the Lincoln Lawyer character shows up in the Harry Bosch books. But so far, I've only read The Black Echo. Really, really enjoyed that book as well. And I think once I'm deeper into both series, I'm probably going to do a character study video, like a comparison between Longmire and Bosch, because both of them are Vietnam vets, and now they're both cops. But 2 very different personalities with 2 very different policing, I don't know what's the right word. What they deal with every day is completely different, because Longmire is the sheriff in Wyoming, so it's this big, sprawling, open land. And Harry Bosch is like a detective, like a homicide detective in like Los Angeles, Hollywood. So very different cases, very different circumstances. Very different characters as well, but there are those couple of, they've had some similar experiences in both having been in Vietnam, though even in Vietnam, very different jobs and roles. But so far, so good. I gave all 4 of the Longmire books 4 stars. I could have easily given them 5 stars as well. There wasn't really anything wrong with them. And but I'm holding off on a 5-star award for a Longmire book because there's so many of them. So I imagine there's got to be a few of them that are just even that much better. And the Bosch book I also gave 4 stars. And what was really interesting with the Bosch book, excuse me, there's a character in this first book who's a character in the TV show. And I don't know if this book character just comes back in the series later and is who she is in the TV series, or if the showrunners just liked her character so much from the first book that they just adapted her and made her like this kind of a different person in Bosch's life than she is in this first book. I have no idea, but now I'm curious to see if she returns later, because there was a twist. There's a few like twists and surprises in the final act of the Bosch book, and one of them just completely caught me by surprise, but only because this character I know is the show character, not the book character. So there was something that happens that I did not see coming at all. So I'm curious to see if she's going to return in the books, because she has a more important role in the TV show. Hey, B&B. If you like the Longmire books, try High White Sun by J. Todd Scott. All right, I'll definitely check that out. I'm used to reading just sci-fi and fantasy, so like venturing out into a different kind of genre it's nice to have that nice change of pace. The only other like stuff that outside of obvious classics and things, the only other kind of like series that weren't sci-fi fantasy related that I really got into when I was younger were the Tom Clancy books, but those were like high-powered action and spies and all that kind of stuff. So things I like in a sci-fi element, they just weren't sci-fi. But yeah, so I think that's it. 3 Malazan books, the Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama, 4 Longmire books, and the 1 Harry Bosch book. And okay, The Far Empty. All right, I'll look for that. Yeah, so I'll definitely check that out. But I am really excited to continue on with both the Longmire and the Bosch books. No like set reading schedule for those though. It's just I think they're going to be good palate cleansers in between Malazan books and in between Cosmere books. And I kind of realized yesterday that I've just added 2 more like 16 plus book series onto my reading, because I'm reading the 16 book Honor Harrington series, the 16 book Malazan series. I'm early on in the Cosmere books, and if there isn't 16 of those yet, there's close to 16. And now I've added the Longmire and Bosch, which are all at least 16, and I have the Dresden Files on hold at the moment, because I just can't juggle too many like massively long series. Hey, and Jerry, how you doing? Awesome to see you. Yeah, I've just decided I was going to sit down and record this and edit it and upload it. And I was like, I figured, let me just do it live. I was going to do it last night, but I got caught up with something I had to take care of. So now I'm live tonight. And my first live stream of the year, I actually, instead of a webcam, I've got my newer Fuji X-T3. I need to get a capture card to get like proper like picture quality, but not too bad. But yeah, so now I'm reading like 5 different 16 book series with 1 16 books or so series on hold. But luckily they're not all like massive tomes like the Malazan and the Cosmere books are. The Longmire books is like you can sit down and read them in a few hours. So I really, really like it. Oh, thank you. I'm glad the sound is good. So I'm just kind of experimenting. I've got my camera connected to USB-C, fed into this Fuji X webcam software, fed into Streamlabs, and then Streamlabs fed into YouTube. And the mic is just plugged into USB into the computer. So, and it all seems to be working. So not too bad. So yeah, so again, I started out of the gate 7 books in January. I thought it was going to be up to like 20, 30 books by now, and then a 3-month reading slump, which I finally came out of by going back to the well that always works. Just pick something from Tolkien's Legendarium and read it, which is what I did last weekend, and now I'm back reading again. So, which is I'm very happy about. 3 months like without reading like anything significant other than research stuff and looking things up for like videos and things, but no, just reading. So it feels good. But so I started Return of the Crimson Guard as my next Malazan read, and I did start book 5 of Longmire. And I think I'm probably going to sit down tomorrow after work and kind of map out the rest of my reading for this, I guess, spring quarter, because I kind of want to get back on track. And I think I might, I'm going to try to do a live stream like every Saturday night, kind of like a weekly update live stream, rather than to sit down and try to record like a 40-minute video and edit it down. You know, these kind of just, what have I been up to? I'm just going to kind of off the cuff it. And I did do some writing. I did not finish this sort of little side novella that I was just doing to flesh out these like noble houses. I got stuck on some logistical challenges to it. And the moment I reminded myself, I'm not writing a book. The scenes don't have to flow. They don't have to have interconnecting tissue. I just need to write down the main scenes that happen to flesh out these characters. And now it's flowing again. So, but I really don't want to get bogged down in a writing discussion in this video. The bulk of my accomplishments for the first quarter were actually my book-related TV show and movie watching goals, because there's a whole bunch of shows that I've been watching that are based off of books and comic books and things like that. So like I said, I finished the Longmire series TV show. Absolutely love that. That's like a comfort show for me. I can just put Longmire on at any time and just watch it. And like I said, I ended up re-binging the entire series again after reading the first couple of Longmire books. And I finished Bosch, which is why I started reading the Bosch books. And I also, all the other shows I wanted to clear off my plate, I pretty much knocked most of them out. I went back, and after those two, Longmire and Bosch, I went back to the Netflix Marvel shows, because I had left off Defenders was the last thing I had watched. So from Punisher season 1 on, I hadn't watched any of those yet. So I finally binged all the rest of that. And I'm glad they're fine when they were on Netflix, but I'm glad now that Netflix doesn't have them anymore, they're at least on Disney Plus. And I was actually just rewatching The Defenders just before I went live. And I enjoy those. I think Netflix did Marvel shows better than Disney Plus has been doing them. I enjoy the Disney Plus Marvel shows a lot. I just think the Netflix shows were more tightly written and tighter focused. And like the Daredevil series is probably the best Marvel show that's been done to date. Though Jessica Jones is my personal favorite of the Netflix ones. But Daredevil is the best of them. And I'm really eager to see how they're gonna, the Marvel, DC Plus, or Disney Plus writers, how they're gonna handle bringing this character, Charlie Cox's Murdoch, and D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk over into the MCU proper. We've already seen the Wilson Fisk characters slightly different. So I don't know if all those TV shows are going to be canon, or just the characters from them that they're bringing over will be considered canon, but new stories going forward. They haven't really clarified yet, but I mean, at some point we'll find out. But once I finished all of those, I finally got back to like the big show I wanted to finish, which was finally getting back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because I had been left off in early season 2, and I really wanted to finish that off. And I picked up where I left off, and then that show is just, I wouldn't begrudge anyone who says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the best Marvel TV show over Daredevil. I could totally understand that argument, and I wouldn't object to it at all. In some ways, at its best, it's equally as good. Again, I just think that Daredevil, because it's shorter, it's a more tightly focused story. But yeah, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was just fantastic. And excuse me. And it really illustrates an issue I have with Marvel's Endgame. Now, I love Infinity War and Endgame. I can sit down and watch those two movies. I've watched them countless times. But if you really pay attention to the Endgame's plot, it is just a train wreck. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they screwed up the timeline. And they had these Chronicoms chasing them across time. But the whole final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is them fixing the broken timeline, putting everything back in place, doing all the hard work to get everything fixed. And it was really well written and well done, and of course well acted. And it's interesting to see the writers of that TV show handle that challenge so well, and the writers of Endgame handle that challenge so poorly. I'm tempted to just do like a breakdown, like a writing or story sort of video on just from a writing perspective and creative perspective of where I think Endgame falls apart. And where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't. Now, the reason I wanted to finish all these shows is because my sister's favorite TV show is Grimm, which is a TV series based upon like sort of Grimm's fairy tales. And that's like one of her favorite TV shows. She's watched it multiple times. So she's been on my case for a few years now to watch it so she can actually talk about it. So that was the impetus to really like finish watching all these other things so I can now concentrate on Grimm. And I'm making progress on that one again. And that's it's a really interesting show. Yeah, and Jerry, my sister raves about it. And I like the concept. He's like this, his family is like this family of, I guess, sort of monster hunters, or you could look at them. He can see all these people who are really all these other sort of different kind of fairy beings and different things. But really, really good show. I love the characters, even like the antagonists and villainous characters. They're all very entertaining. And I'm still in season 2 on that. I'm basically, for anyone who's seen it, his best friend, who was watching the sort of herb shop for his girlfriend, just found out that the Grimm's like girlfriend or wife or whatever she is, who has amnesia, is the one stuck in this sort of love potion sort of thing with the police captain. He just discovered that it's her. So that's where I have to get back to and continue. But again, really interesting as well, because another TV show that's based on, in this terms, fairy tales in a way, like the Grimm fairy tales. But yeah, so I ended up re-binging Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again, a second time. I rewatched the whole series. And I've been bouncing back and forth, rewatching the films that have both Agent Coulson and Natasha Romanoff in them. Because like Iron Man 2, I had only watched maybe twice when it first came out. But now I've gone back and I have a much bigger appreciation for that second Iron Man movie now, because it's the movie that introduced both Natasha and Phil Coulson. So it's more entertaining now to see their performances, the start of both of their journeys with these characters. So, but yeah, so overall, reading was okay. Like I said, only 9 books, nowhere near what I wanted, though 9 really fantastic books. The most productive part was the TV show and movie watching, of catching up on all these book-related stories. And, it's like I've already, after finishing them, I've watched The Defenders a couple more times. I've watched Jessica Jones Season 1, I think 2 more times, and Daredevil Season 3 I've watched 2 more times. It's because I don't have cable, so I don't see what's regular TV shows that are out. So for me, it's if I'm in the mood for TV watching, it's streaming, something like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus, that kind of stuff. Which I generally like. I like taking a deep dive into a particular story universe, like whether it's Star Wars or Marvel. And lately, because of finishing off the Marvel Netflix shows and finally finishing off Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I've been like really kind of diving back into like a lot of the Marvel stuff, TV shows and the movies. They're another like just story world where you can put any part of it on and watch and enjoy it. Even the misses in some of their stuff are still enjoyable. And I'm just curious to see is they're in this early in phase 4, if they're going to be able to start to have a little more focused direction in where they're going for phase 4 and what they're trying to accomplish. It looks like they're slowly putting together the Midnight Suns from the comic books, which is a series of, it's a sort of, not even a superhero, but an anti-superhero team of a lot of the sort of Marvel characters who operate in the shadows and at night and have supernatural abilities, like Moon Knight and Blade. And you have like Werewolf by Night, I think, is going to be coming in a Halloween special. And the Kit Harington's character that we saw in the Eternals, the Black Knight, they're all, and Punisher and Ghost Rider, all of these characters are in the comics occasionally teamed up under this banner called the Midnight Suns, where kind of Doctor Strange, I believe, has brought them together a few times for these supernatural missions. So it looks like they are sort of building towards a sort of a Midnight Suns kind of story at some point, whether it's a TV series on Disney Plus or it's a movie. I don't know which direction they're going to go in with that. But they're putting all those pieces together, whether that's going to be a phase 4 thing or a phase 5 thing, it's hard to say. But I like this sort of supernatural stuff because Marvel hasn't really gotten into it in their movies yet. They're just now starting to touch on it. So for me, the big thing is, who are they going to have portray characters they've already had in some of their TV shows? Like, I know they're not bringing back the actor, the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, because they're going to be bringing Ghost Rider in soon, but I don't think it's the actor and the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider who was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a shame because he was really, really great in that role. But it really all depends also on which Ghost Rider they're going to bring, because I don't know how many different characters in the books have become Ghost Rider. There was the original Johnny, and then there was Robbie, and I think there's a Danny after that. So, again, we have to just wait and see. And whether they're going to bring in a Luke Cage or Iron Fist from the Netflix shows. I don't know if they're going to bring them. If they do, will they recast those characters? If they do Jessica Jones, I want Kristen Ritter to play her. I can't imagine any other actress playing Jessica Jones ever. For Kristen Ritter was just the perfect casting, just like Charlie Cox's perfect casting as Matt Murdock. And that's I think the thing that one of the aspects the TV show got right about Daredevil is the importance of his Catholic religion. It's like a centerpiece of who Matt is as a character in the comics. You can't separate him out from his faith, and which is why it plays such a big role in that TV show. But I don't know if we're gonna if it's going to be a central piece, because we don't really know how they're going to be using the character of Daredevil in the MCU yet. So it's one of the, it's hard to kind of figure out where they're going with this. I think they were more focused in terms of having a direction to go in the first 3 phases as they built up, introducing everyone, collecting them, and then eventually working their way up to the big Infinity Stone storyline. So hopefully we'll get a little more clarity sometime soon about what they're actually trying to accomplish. Again, storytelling wise, with Phase 4. And thoughts so far from Dennis, thoughts so far on what we've seen from the House of the Dragon. I actually really liked the newest trailer we just got. I think they're going to do a really good job. This is different showrunners. It's not Dan and Dave, who just gave up on the Game of Thrones TV show. It's different people running it. They have a really great cast. I like how they've cast all the characters so far. And the show is going to be jumping ahead timeline-wise. It's going to be skipping, because if you look at the trailer, you see the very young Targaryen, and I'm drawing a blank on her name at the moment, the character's name. The young blonde girl. And then there's an older, there's the one older blonde where they won't allow a woman to sit on the throne. Not her. There's a different woman with a different blonde-haired Targaryen woman who's in between the age of those two. You see in some of the clips, and that's the same character. So we're getting like the start of the dance, and I think they're gonna then, in one of the seasons, leap forward a few years, because there are a couple of different actresses or actors playing the same person, depending upon where they are at in this Dance of Dragons sort of civil war. Because the story itself it's going to be wild if they're going to do the whole thing. Watching House Targaryen basically tear itself apart, being split between, was it the blacks and the greens, I think, are the colors of the two sides. With the was it Whitehead or White Tower, and then the Targaryen. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. It looks fantastic. The music sounds great. And again, Matt Smith is always fantastic in whatever he does. Even when he's in something that overall isn't good, he's always great in his portrayal of whatever character he's playing. And he's I think gonna make it really fantastic Daemon Targaryen. So, but yeah, I'm very excited for that. But I'm not sure, that comes out, is it August, I think, later this year? So there's a lot coming out this year. But yeah, that battle is going to be something. And because we got a little taste of like people battling while on Dragonback in a Game of Thrones, just in that like last battle, Winterfell. There was a very brief of that, but we should be getting a lot of that in this upcoming House of the Dragon. And but yeah, so I actually have Fire and Blood up over here, so I gotta pull that down and read back through that section, and I want to actually finish reading this whole thing this year. That's another reading project. I've bounced around looking at little portions of it, but I really do need to just sit and give it a solid read. And yeah, as far as the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, I don't really have much to say about that, and not much to go on. I wasn't blown away by the trailer. It just seemed a bit, generic fantasy trailer. But I think they're trying to be very close to the vest with the story. and they're, you know, it's one of those productions where they try to keep everything under wraps. Sometimes production houses just go overboard, I think, with trying to like keep everything a secret. Sometimes you need to you need to show people stuff and promote it more, but we'll see. I know a whole bunch of people were just brought out to London to see. They got to see like 20 minutes of final footage, and not a 20-minute scene, but just like 20 minutes of just scattered clips from the first season. And some of it, they said, looked really good and made them really happy. Some of it, they came away looking very questionable. But since they didn't have any context to any of the little clips they were shown, there really isn't any way to really put it into any proper way to react to it. But we'll see. It's a big challenge to tackle Tolkien's Second Age, because he didn't write them as fully fleshed like stories like The Lord of the Rings with full dialogue and everything. And it really depends upon what exact rights the showrunners have to Second Age material. Because I think they might only have things Tolkien mentions in his letters and what's mentioned about the Second Age in the appendices of Return of the King. But they don't have Silmarillion rights. So the more developed, fleshed out parts of it, they don't have. But I think as long as they don't outright contradict like critical story pieces, they have a lot of leeway and a lot of flexibility, which is, considering most of the characters we've been shown are characters made up for the show, most of the story we're going to be getting, at least in season 1, is going to be made up story, just kind of built around the Tolkien specific story parts that are going to ultimately be the foundational underpinning of the series. So, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to just give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing. I mean, Amazon gave them a hell of a lot of money, so I'm not going to prejudge them at all. But Tolkien's Legendarium is my favorite piece of literature of all time over anything I've ever read, no matter how much of a, like, Iliad, Odyssey, as great as all those things are. Tolkien's Legendarium, that's my #1 literature. So I hope it's the greatest TV show of all time. I don't expect it to be the greatest TV show of all time, but I just hope it doesn't suck. And I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing, and I hope I'm going to come away with a good, enjoyable watching experience. But we'll see. Like Wheel of Time Season 1, for all of its problems, in the end, I came away with just a positive reaction, because there's a lot I forgave because of the COVID restrictions and losing one of your main actors for the final 2 episodes. So I gave them a pass on some of the clunkier things at the end. But we'll see. Season 2, I think they just wrapped filming Season 2, so whether we're getting that this year or next year, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to see where they take the story and how much of books, like I'm assuming 2 and 3, they're going to adapt for Season 2. And hopefully without as big a negative impact as COVID was trying to do Season 1, hopefully they'll have ironed out some of the challenges that they had in season 1. But overall, you know, we'll see. I'm happy more than I'm not with Wheel of Time. So we'll see how it goes. The fell for the Lord of Gifts. And I think, I'm trying to think of what else there is to cover about the first quarter of the year. I'm trying to think if there's any like book or related TV or movie stuff that I missed. And was Dune this year? Or Dune was last year, right? Dune came out before the new year, I'm pretty sure. But I am super excited for the part 2 of Dune whenever that is finally out. Oh, and I mentioned Rendezvous with Rama earlier that I read. Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune, wants Rendezvous with Rama to be his next film project when he's done with Dune. And he is absolutely the best director to adapt that work. That's perfect story material for his style of directing and storytelling. So I really hope that does happen, that he is able to adapt Rendezvous with Rama to screen. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else there might be. Yeah. The only other thing, like book-related, like TV show and movies, is the upcoming Marvel stuff, I guess. Oh, and of course the Obi-Wan show that's maybe like a little over a week and a half away. So super excited for that. I hope they do a good job there. I'm a little trepidatious about them taking Obi-Wan and having him run all over the galaxy when he's supposedly supposed to be watching out for Luke on Tatooine. But again, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if it starts immediately after the end of Revenge of the Sith, or if it's picks up like 5 years later or something. I'm not sure. So we'll see. And yeah, I guess that's about it. I have not seen the Spider-Man No Way Home, nor have I seen the Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness. So haven't seen those yet, though I'm looking forward to both of them to see how crazy they are. And I think, unless anyone watching has any questions or anything about any of this, I might be wrapping it up here, because I have been live for almost 50 minutes. So actually went by really, really fast. I'm surprised. Sometimes you're live streaming and you're just talking and you don't realize, boom, it's like almost an hour's gone by. So I think I am going to pretty much sum it up and wrap it up here. So 9 books read, 9 fantastic books, though only 9. And lots of great book-related TV and movie watching. And now, I did watch episode 1 of Peaky Blinders, finally, and oh man, is that good. I can see why people rave about that show. So, I'm probably it's gonna be Grimm, and Peaky Blinders is my main 2, like, binge-watching TV shows, outside of anything new coming out, like Obi-Wan. So, but yeah. Other than that, I have even though it's a very late spring TBR video that should be up in a few days. And I also have, in the next couple of days, I'm going to be filming an updated top 10 favorite, personal favorite fantasy series. Not 10 best, but my top 10 personal favorite. I did like a top 10 sci-fi and fantasy books when I first started this channel like 4 years ago. But I wanted to just sit down and just do a straight, here's my top 10 favorite fantasy series. Because there are some that are going to be on a lot of people's lists, and I know I'm going to have a couple that are on my list that probably most of you never even heard of. So I'm really looking forward to getting that filmed. That's probably going to be up on my channel next weekend. Most likely Saturday, but we'll see. And I'm going to try to live stream next week, whether it's going to be Saturday night or Sunday night. I don't know yet. And I'll figure out what I'm going to talk about between now and then. But anyway, I am Charles of SirBookSage. Happy reading. And now I got to figure out how to end this stream. I probably should have had that ready to go beforehand. All right. Nope, that's not it. How about that one? There you go. Thanks for watching. So, something to practice later on when I'm not on camera. All right. Bye-bye.